International Race of Champions premiered at Michigan International Speedway. 12 of the world's best drivers competing. It was highlighted that day by the battle between IndyCar giant Danny Ungaius and the NASCAR Charger Neil Bonnet. Ungaius forced the early pace, but spun in front of the field. Neil Bonnet barely slipping by. In the chase for $150,000, Bonnet was to take round one and the 21 points for the victory. 3 weeks ago, it was Cleveland, Ohio on the 9-turn road course. Our CBS onboard camera was with Ungaius as he broke traction and spun, barely missing the wall, and the field stayed away from him. The race was between Tom Sneva, the IndyCar star, and stock car giant Cale Yarborough. Sneva, who had led from the start, had a tire deflate, and Cale Yarborough was about to grit it out and go on for the victory. Neil Bonnet placed 6th at Cleveland. He now leads the series by just 1 point as we come to you live today from the world's fastest oval for round 3 of the International Race of Champions.
Of Champions from the Alabama International Motor Speedway is sponsored by Chevrolet. With performance, style, innovation, quality, and the value that make up today's Chevrolet. Goodyear tires and Goodyear service for more good years in your car. And by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you.
The driver who is low in points is on the point, on the pole. Tom Sneva, the IndyCar champion, for round number 3 as we come to you live from Talladega, Alabama, where right now the story is the weather. It's a gambler's delight, but not much for racing. It rained hard this morning, abated. We had sun for a while, but now the winds are up, almost like a nor'easter, and the temperature is settling back down several degrees in the past 5 minutes. Good afternoon. I'm Ken Squire with you for round 3 here on the world's fastest track, the Alabama International Motor Speedway. And it is here that yesterday the major story for today's race was written. For it was here that Benny Parsons, who had qualified 9th for tomorrow's Talladega 500, crashed his car in practice, his NASCAR machine. He was taken to the hospital, came back to the track. He suffered a neck injury, a shoulder injury, but later began to suffer nausea and spent all of last night in the hospital. Now he's ready to go. He'll be starting in the rear of the field, and standing by with him is Ned Jarrett.
Well, Benny, you did spend last night in the hospital. How do you feel now?
Well, under the circumstances, Ned, I guess I feel about as good as you expect to feel. There is some soreness in the neck and in the arms, but basically I feel pretty good.
Will you be able to run competitively?
I don't know. We're just going to have to, I'll take the green flag and try my best, give it a few laps. If I'm able to do it, I will do it. If I can't, I'll just have to come in.
Well, we wonder, Ken, if he needed to get back in a race car before he leaves Talladega. He said that really wasn't that big of a problem.
100 miles, 38 laps for Parsons, who lies second in the points, just 1 point behind Neil Bonnet, the current leader. Notice that Gordon Johncock currently rests in third. He's just 2 points out of first place in this all-important, critical round number 3. Looking further back in the standings, see Danny Ungaius there with 18 points. Tom Sneva dead last. He's up on the point. He's expected to really fly and try to hold on for a win. He feels it has to be a win for him today. Neil Bonnet, top man of the points, has to start dead last. Right now, Dick Vermeil is with him.
Neil, does the point system being used to determine the eventual winner force you to drive a different race than you normally would today?
Well, since I'm leading in the points, I'm having to start back here in the back, but if this was the last race of the season, I'd have a little bit of game plan. The only thing I can do right now is try to go to the front.
Well, good luck to Neil. Back to Ken.
An overview after 2 of the races have been completed here today, and then the finale comes on August 11th, Saturday, at Michigan International Speedway. An overview from Chris Economaki on how the series is going.
Thanks, Ken. Well, the first two races went to the NASCAR stock car drivers. Neil Bonnet winning at Michigan and Cale Yarborough on the road course at Cleveland. And because the Talladega International Speedway here is a sense of home track for the stock car people, people are saying the stock car drivers are going to have an easy time of it today. However, you forget one thing. This is a 200-mile-an-hour track. And the stock car drivers are used to 200-mile-an-hour cars, and the Camaros can only go 175 miles an hour. That may be tough for them to put up with. I think it's going to be a wide open race today, and the Indy drivers are going to be pushing hard for their form of the sport. And now for the starting lineup, let's go to Ken Squire.
The lineup for today's International Race of Champions. On the pole, fresh from his incredible Michigan 500 last lap battle 6 days ago, Tom Sneva. Outside is endurance champion Belgium's Jackie Ickx, feeling as much pressure here as in any of his 6 Le Mans wins. Row 2 is Dale Earnhardt. He won the Talladega 500 last year, runs exceptionally on this track. Beside Earnhardt is twice world champion Emerson Fittipaldi, testing those 33-degree banks for the first time. Row 3 inside is Johnny Rutherford, the 3-time Indy winner, working to improve on a 6th and 8th place finish. 6th place is Danny Ungaius, who's made himself a sentimental favorite with his gritty efforts thus far. Darrell Waltrip inside of row 4, finished 4th and 5th. Beside Waltrip is Great Britain's Derek Bell. He placed 2nd at Cleveland, first time on the high banks. Row 5 is perennial favorite Cale Yarborough. He won Cleveland. He's 4th in points. Starting 10th is Gordon Johncock. Now, he has 2 third-place finishes, and he's 3rd in the overall series. Row 6 sees series 2nd place man Benny Parsons injured a day ago in a 190-mile-per-hour crash. And finally, starting in the last spot in this IROC Series Round 3, Neil Bonnet. He has a win and a 6th place finish to date. Stand by for our live flag-to-flag coverage of Round 3 of the 1984 International Race of Champions.
This is today's Chevrolet.
We're back with you live once again at the world's fastest motor speedway, the 2.6-mile Alabama International Motor Speedway at Talladega, and we are on a temporary hold. NASCAR officials, as the wind is really gussied up here, holding this 12-car field before they release them for today's race. They say they may be inclement weather as close as 2 miles away, and they just want to see where it's going to go before they even attempt to start in this afternoon's round number 3 of the 1984 International Race of Champions. With Chris Economaki, I'm Ken Squire here at the start-finish line. Dick Vermeil and Ned Jarrett alongside in the pits, and there you see the field that's lined up, and way out back, Neil Bonnet and the injured Benny Parsons. Actually, 3 drivers in this field driving injured today. There's the overall purse money, as Chris pointed out to you. The $150,000 jackpot goes to the man who rolls the dice correctly on 4 occasions, the last being Saturday, August 11th, which you'll be seeing here on CBS. And then it's a big drop. 2nd place, $75,000, and 3rd, $35,000, and so on down through the field, back to about $20,000 for last shot in this event. Big payoff, $465,000 at stake in these equally prepared Chevrolet Camaro 105-inch wheelbase cars with the 355 V8 cubic inch engines.
You know, Ken, this is the first time in all of the years of the IROC where there hasn't been prize money for each race. It all is at the end, in the big bundle at the end of this race. And now the drivers are realizing that it's late in the day, that what hasn't gone before must come today. So you're going to see a lot of drivers pushing hard that haven't been pushing too hard before.
Big crowd looking on, and Gordon Johncock unstrapping the helmet for the moment here and taking off the 5-point seatbelt system and climbing out of that Chevrolet Camaro. Gordon Johncock currently lying 3rd in the field, one of the toughest in the tough, getting ready for a go here against some of stock cars' best and also some of the very best from the sports car world, all combined in this 4-race series. Chris has been doing a little analysis of what these fellows do in between races. What about Johncock?
Well, we saw him last at Cleveland. He raced an Indy car that same circuit the very next day, went home to Coldwater, Michigan. You could drive there in a couple of hours from Cleveland to tend to the ready-mix business that he's in. He said he's had no time for relaxation as he opened a new branch down in Edwardsburg, Michigan. He said, I would like to have gone to my ranch in Phoenix, and when I asked him about his ranch, his small ranch is 11,800 acres, a cattle ranch where he raises breeding stock. He did no testing, and he raced last Sunday in the Michigan 500. And as for his broken foot, but he says it's coming along fine, and he smiled and said, I wear the same size shoes on both feet now.
Let's join Dick Vermeil standing by with Gordon Johncock.
Gordon, does this delay really disappoint you, foul you up mentally or anything like that?
Well, not really, you know, and I think even, in fact, I've always been a little more maybe relaxed even if there is a delay in it, you know. I don't know why, but it always seemed to do better after a delay. If we get rained out or something, we have to come back or something. It seemed like I've always done better. I don't know why.
Well, you're close enough right now. If you do a good job today, you'll be right up there bucking for that 150,000.
Yeah, we're in third place in the points, and you know, right there, and got a good chance. Just got to keep my nose clean and finish the race. That's the main thing. Just kind of, you know, run in line with the rest of them until it comes down to the last lap. And if there's 6 or 7 of us there at the last lap, that's something you don't know. You know, the right position to be in, because you don't know who's going to be behind you to help you through or what's going to happen. It's a lot different when you got just 1 or 2 there running together. Then you got an idea what you got to do.
Then you have a feeling.
Yeah, when there's 5 or 6 of us there, you don't know what to do. Might finish up on the grass. You know?
No, you don't want to do that. Let's throw it over to Ned.
Well, we're standing by with Dale Earnhardt, who has talking about the grass. He had a little problem with the grass up at Cleveland a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we did. Got off the course a little bit and messed the chassis up a little bit, so it didn't drive so well. So I spun it out a couple more times after that. But, you know, we was racing up there on a course that they just laid off, and it really wasn't a race course, and we didn't have much practice time. So, you know, it's just one of them deals.
Dale, what does this delay here do for you mentally?
Nothing really. You know, I've been hanging around all week waiting on it, and the cars are running so close together and everything. We don't get to practice in the cars we race, so I didn't even practice at all. And we've got some weather moving in now, but hopefully it'll move out and we can get going and see what we can do with them.
Well, good luck out there. Dick Vermeil is standing by with Cale Yarborough.
Cale, you'd have to win a number of Grand National races to make the money you could win in this one. How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel good. You know, the series itself is awful exciting, and when they put that much money on it, it makes it even more so. So I'm anxious to win.
Plus, you don't have to share that money with anybody. It's in your pocket, yours and the government.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course, the government's going to get his part of it, but he'll let me keep a little if I can win it.
Well, that's great. Well, good luck to you today. Back to Ned.
Well, we're standing by with Johnny Rutherford, former winner of the Indianapolis 500 and many, many other races around the country. John, you look very comfortable in there and ready to go.
I was ready. We got this weather blowing in. I sure wish we could get it off, because some of the guys have to go do other races and things, and I'm looking forward to it.
You've had quite a bit of experience in stock cars.
Yes. In fact, I thought of it the other day. I raced in I think this year was the 25th annual or 26th annual Daytona 500, and I raced in the 5th annual with you many years ago. And,
I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah. So I have run Grand Nationals quite a bit. I run here 2 or 3 times, so I do know a little bit about the place.
Now, these cars are run considerably slower than the Grand Nationals because of the smaller carburetor and the engines not as high horsepower as the Grand Nationals do. That should make it easy to drive, but also, I guess, tough, especially when you get in the draft.
Well, it is, because they don't, during practice that we had, they don't seem to pull much draft. There's not a lot of drafting that you can do unless we get the group of cars, all 12 out there running, and something changes. But just 2 or 3 cars together, we couldn't find any draft to really use to pull you up to the rest of the group. So it's going to be tough. If you lose your place in line, you're liable to be there for the rest of the day.
Well, you're starting right here in the middle of them, so if there's any air stirred up, you should be right in the middle of it. Good luck, John.
Thank you.
Okay, now back to Ken Squire.
A few thunderclaps stirring around the Alabama International Motor Speedway. Had a severe storm this morning, had a major shower here just about 8 miles away. It didn't come near the track day before yesterday, but now it's just off the turn, and here you see off the 4th turn, the storm, and here you see part of a very good crowd which has turned out today to see first the Automobile Racing Club of America's event, which was won by Hueytown, Alabama's Red Farmer. Bosco Lowe finished in 2nd, and young Casey Spurlock out of Nashville, Tennessee placed 3rd, with Bob Dotter 4th and Kirk Bryant 5th. Davey Allison won a lap down about midway in that one, Chris, but Red Farmer, one of the legends these days of Southern racing out of Alabama, one of the old Alabama gang, pulled it off today.
You know, Red keeps busy. He races up and down the Speedway Boulevard here, not on the street, but on the tracks that flank it. A little Talladega short track across the street from the racetrack, and Red's a regular there. He just won't give up. He's pretty much like A.J. Foyt. You know, sometimes I think these guys like Red Farmer and A.J. Foyt really want to quit, but they don't know how.
We are on a hold of another at least 3 minutes before we have word here on the start of the International Race of Champions from the Alabama International Motor Speedway. The The weather not being particularly helpful here today. As you can see, a storm developing, and it's now creased over the top of the fourth turn, and the tarpaulins have come out for the race cars as it comes out for baseball over the infield. There you see some of the drivers lounging there in one of the vans along pit road. Gordon Johncock, Dale Earnhardt, last year's winner of the Talladega 500, which you'll be seeing here live, flag to flag, tomorrow on CBS. And what a race we're going to have tomorrow. Up on the front row for tomorrow's Talladega 500, it'll be Cale Yarborough on the point with his Chevrolet, and right beside him, Bill Elliott. And it's an interesting front row, Chris, because that's been the same front row the last 3 occasions here. And we were here last end of July and August, and then again for the Winston 500 at the beginning of the year back in May. And now once again, Cale Yarborough with a Chevrolet and Bill Elliott with a Ford are locked up in front, and they came within milliseconds of each other. The speed was 202.474 for Cale and 202.422 for Bill Elliott, who's won his first race at Riverside earlier this year.
The speeds have been remarkable here at Talladega and on the Grand National Circuit together. There were 6 drivers over 200 in tomorrow's lineup, which is really remarkable. Somewhere along the way, the young crew chiefs and some of the old ones are learning the technology to make these cars go faster. They've been putting them in wind tunnels. The whole sport is changing and making the cars faster. It's really going to be a fast 500 tomorrow.
12 1/1000ths of a second, the difference between first and second. And just briefly, I'll remind our listeners and viewers that Dale Earnhardt and Terry Labonte will be in row 2, and Tommy Ellis is going to be in row 3. Boy, he is doing a job this year. Buddy Baker alongside of him. And then at 199 miles per hour came Darrell Waltrip and Neil Bonnet. And we'll have one of our CBS onboard cameras right up in the front row with Bill Elliott. We had intended to have pictures out of Benny Parsons' car, but his car is out of the race. He had qualified 9th. And now you see the weather is continuing to raise havoc with our International Race of Champions this afternoon. Let's go and take a look at round 1 of this year on the oval at Michigan, one of the most beautiful tracks in North America. And this was the first of the International Race of Champions series for 1984 from the Michigan International Speedway. All of the world's best. Taking the green flag, and the International Race of Champions is underway.
Side getting a turn. Look how high on the track Earnhardt is. Way up. It could be slippery up there.
These cars a lot slipperier than the cars that used to run the IROC series, but some were saying they don't draft quite as well. You can get away, you might have a chance. They're still side by side out of turn number 2.
This shows the equality of the cars, Ken. Look how close that group is. Nobody's pulling away.
Back straightaway, Fittipaldi. Now Earnhardt breaking out in front. It's Earnhardt going to the point. Fittipaldi back to second. And look at that thing rock and roll as it goes up toward turn 3.
Now Fittipaldi being passed on the inside.
Danny Ungaius into second.
Danny, it's the black car. It's easy to remember Danny's car. He's always driven black cars. Danny's about 60 pounds lighter than his usual racing weight, and I'm wondering whether he has the muscle to handle this heavy car for this distance.
49 to go. Fittipaldi dropping to 3rd. And now we're seeing some different lines. Some coming down, taking a real low scoot into that first turn. Here's Earnhardt out in front.
It's interesting. We have a stock car driver, an Indy car driver, and a road racer in the top 3 positions.
Let's see what happens. He goes to turn number 3. Walking along over that track. A little further back in the pack. Fighting for 5th position now. See Jackie Ickx just getting past and sliding back a slot.
Now the shuffling is beginning. The drivers are beginning to get the feel of it. They said during practice that the drafting qualities of these cars are far better than any previous IROC cars. In fact, they say that these cars are without question the finest cars ever used in an IROC before, and it gives the drivers a lot of confidence to be in a machine of this nature.
Gordon Johncock on the outside in 4th. Jackie Ickx, the white car, falling back. And there's Cale Yarborough beginning to make a move. Cale Yarborough beginning to pull up on Jackie Ickx.
Doesn't look like he has any room to go anyplace, does it, Ken?
They said they're going to swap some sheet metal. Not really sheet metal. These cars, fabrications. Not a metal body on these cars. More like what they were running the ASA.
Right here's where the push wants to come into the car. It wants to go up to the high. Cale's doing a great job of holding it down low as you come into the grandstand straight. Speaking of the grandstand, Ken, I think this is the largest crowd to ever see an IROC race.
Earnhardt perseveres for still another lap. Ungaius stays in second. Fittipaldi holding up well. Johncock is next in 4th, and it's a 3-car dice. And there's Yarborough right in the middle of it in the yellow car for 5th position. Yarborough holding on as they come around through turn number 2. Front 3.
in past IROCs, Ken, there's
open 1 and 2, and let's look in replay. What happened here? Now there's Ungaius down low. John Cockett taking the inside. Was there a tap?
No, I don't think so. I think Danny went down and the car got loose. Now, he's really trying to save it here. He's gathering it up, as they say in racing. Look at Bonnet starting to take evasive action. On the brakes. Danny's hanging in there, but, you know, 3,250 pounds of racing car wanting to go where it wants to go. It doesn't behave too much under these circumstances. It's like a rodeo bull.
I always like Buddy Baker's line after he had a big spin like that and didn't collect any concrete. And said, that was a marvelous job you did. And he said, isn't it amazing what you can do with your eyes closed?
Yeah, that's true. They do spin. Well, he's down on the grass,
and he was lucky there. There were that 3-car.
You know who was watching desperately, Ken, is Jay Signori, who has to fix these things when they get dinged up. So far, all they've had to do is change tires. It may well be that Jay's luck has run out.
Great save. Now, let's take a look from inside Cale Yarborough's car. The International Race of Champions here on CBS. Now watch Cale's car. There you see the incident directly up in front of him, and he is part of that trio moving down. And he had a little time to realize that what goes up on an 18-degree bank comes down, and he had clear sailing through there.
Did you notice when Cale went by, he didn't even look? Straight ahead. It's all business. Rubbernecking it.
Have seen round number 3 live today here from the Alabama International Motor Speedway at Talladega, Alabama. Ken Squire with you at the start-finish line. There's some of the crowd that have taken cover from a frog swallower of a storm, which is now coming, as you see, down across the tri-oval and putting that inside apron at about 3 inches of water. There are some of the drivers standing by of the dozen who expect to get out here sometime later today, and if that should happen, we'll be showing you highlights tomorrow during our Talladega 500. Nice snooze for Cale Yarborough. Let's now take another look at the Michigan International Speedway's round 1 of this 1984 International Race of Champions and its exciting conclusion.
At Talladega, and you were talking about how it affects the drivers. It's perhaps affecting him a little bit more than some of the others because you got another commitment. You needed to get out of here.
Yeah, I've just missed my flight to Portland, where I'm racing in the IMSA series tomorrow. I'm leading line second in the championship out there, so it's vital I get up there. And I noticed that we don't have any rain tires to go out in this. We're used to this sort of thing back in Europe, you know. But we're going to have to just sit in here and wait.
What do you think of the high banks, Derek?
Well, I was surprised. I thought it was going to be much steeper. The impression was going to be that it was much steeper, but when I went out the other day, these cars are so beautifully prepared that on Tuesday I went out and my second lap I had it flat to the floor, and I kept it flat there for like 10 or 11 laps and was as happy as a sandboy out there. I mean, I found it quite easy, but it's going to be a lot different in there with the big stock car stars, I think, you know, slipstreaming or drafting as you call it here.
Did you learn something in Michigan on the oval there about the drafting technique?
Yeah, I learned not to keep my foot in it too hard because I spun off twice. But yeah, I learned quite a lot, and I felt by the end of the race I was getting the hang of it. Not getting back to the pits under a yellow, but I mean actually holding it up on the banking, and I enjoyed it towards the end, so I thought it was over too soon.
You're leading the World Endurance Point Championship. Would you like maybe to get deeper into stock cars?
I'd love to. I think we'd all love to do anything else, you know, to show your versatility. I think it's a completely different scene for us, but I know that I'll be on a hiding to nothing because everybody would have expected me to do quite well at it, and I think I could do a reasonable job, but it seems there's so much experience involved with these drivers. You know, they've got Richard Petty and Bobby Allison, and these drivers, they're not 25-year-olds anymore, and they're still doing great jobs. So I think it'd be very difficult for me to get out there and show them that I was any good, but I wouldn't mind having a go.
Well, good luck when we get this underway, Ken. There is some brightness beginning to show in the west where this storm came from, so maybe they will be able to run it later on this afternoon.
Well, Ned, they run the International Race of Champions on road courses, on an ovals, but if they ran it in the rain, then Derek Bell on some rain tires, he would be some kind of threat, Chris.
I think he'd have only one rival, and that would be Jackie Hicks, who's known in Europe as the Rainmeister. You know, Derek Bell is a wonderful guy, and he's been over here a number of years racing at different racetracks, and he told me not too long ago that he was all excited because he had received an invitation to have tea with Queen Elizabeth, and he was going back to England to have tea with the Queen, and he said it was an involved thing. He had to go rent a morning suit and a top hat and gloves and all of the right clothes. And then he came back to the United States a month or so later, and I said to him, Derek, how was tea with the Queen? He said, well, he said, here I had envisioned us sitting down at a table with a parasol with the Queen opposite me, talking about motor racing. And he said, when I got to Buckingham Palace, there were 2,500 other people there, all dressed the same way I was, and I never even got a look at her.
We'll be back with more live coverage of the International Race of Champions after this word from your local stations. A frog swallower of a storm came up at Talladega, Alabama, just as we were set to commence round 3 of the International Race of Champions, and nary a lap has been turned for the 12 drivers participating in this 1984 $465,000 series. There you see the 2.6-mile track underwater. The sun is trying to break through right now, but it would be at least an hour before we would get a break to get cars back on the track. Now, later this afternoon, CBS will be taking you to the 3rd round of the Greater Hartford Open. Seems the weather is cooperating up in the New England area today, so stand by for that, and we're going to be interviewing more of the drivers who will be participating in tomorrow's running of the Talladega 500. One of the great races. There's the leaderboard on the Greater Hartford, and at the present time, Mr. Peter Jacobson has moved into the lead. Greater Hartford is coming up next this afternoon on CBS. Ken Squire with you here at Talladega, Alabama. And right while we have this opportunity, let's take a look at more of the International Race of Champions. This is round 2. This was Cleveland, Ohio's last 5 laps on the road course. Timmons. 38 laps, 101 miles in round 3 of the International Race of Champions. In the front row, Tom Sneva, and beside him, Belgium's Jackie Ickx. In row 2, it is Dale Earnhardt, who says it is a must situation for him today, and Emerson Fittipaldi alongside. Then in row 3 comes Johnny Rutherford, and the real trier of this series, Danny Ongais. In row 4, Darrell Waltrip and Derek Bell. They are currently tied for 5th in the standings. Up in row 5 is Cale Yarborough and Gordon Johncock. And out back, the 2 leaders, just 1 point apart. Benny Parsons with 29 points, Neil Bonnet with 30. 12 drivers with 38 laps down to the line. 12 cars with 38 laps through the tri-oval. And remember, at Talladega, it is not here at the tri-oval you find the start-finish line as you would at Daytona or Charlotte, but it's down toward the first turn. And so there's a second opportunity to pass. One in turn 4, and in that last lap when the green flag comes out that tri-oval down to Harold Kinney, where the green flag is down, and the race is underway. Sneva drops out in front. Earnhardt pulling into second. That's Jackie Ickx in second, and into third goes Earnhardt. On the bottom of the racetrack, Johnny Rutherford coming to 4th. Falling to 5th is Fittipaldi out of turn 2. Here's Neil Bonnet pressing up against the wall. See if there's any running room up there with some clear air. Try and sail past some cars as they get free.
You notice Bonnet's right hand is in a cast. This will be the last weekend he wears that cast for a wrist that he's broken and rebroken and has had trouble with it all season long.
There's Benny Parsons driving hurt on the inside. They look from the back. Derek Bell just in front of Neil Bonnet. As they go to the, sideways and slamming into the wall. It is Derek Bell's automobile. Bell taking a terrible hit. Still crashing and sliding. Derek Bell's car all torn up. And that is the Bell car coming to a halt, and immediately he climbs out. Neil Bonnet's car also getting thumped. You're back in Bonnet's automobile, and you were with Neil as it happened.
Well, that's right. Neil pulled to the left there. He passed one car on the right, then cut across, and I think maybe there wasn't quite enough room for that type of maneuver. But here he is, driving around looking okay, checking the car, and slowing down, of course, as the yellow flag waves.
So the car number 15 for Derek Bell is badly torn up, and Bonnet apparently lost a windshield in that altercation. Let's take a look in replay at the incident. Back of the field. Now watch the white car in the back. That is Derek Bell. He starts to move up. Bonnet starts to come down. They seem to touch. Now watch the Bell car head for the wall.
Here's this afternoon. 38 laps, 1 lap down. Remember, caution laps are not counted. So
Bonnet simply sailing.
Bonnet's one of them.
Bonnet gathers it up And he keeps on going. Now let's look from the in-car camera at this situation another time. There is Derek Bell just in front.
Now, Bonnet is turning to the left here, and you can see Bonnet's right front corner, just off camera there, moves Bell into a slide, which triggered the whole action. Bell caught the car on his left.
Benny Parsons tagging the white car, and it socks the wall, taking that right front tire and driving it back about 2 feet.
I'd say our camera operators on these in-car cameras really deserve a pat on the back for that action.
Let's go to Ned Jarrett with Derek Bell.
Derek, can you tell us what happened?
Well, I thought I was in there with professional drivers, but they're like bloody animals out there. I mean, I was just 2 guys behind me coming around there, and suddenly somebody hit me up the back. Then another one hit me. I don't know, there's 2 guys in here. I think it's Parsons, whoever else is Bonnet. I mean, just so stupid. It's unnecessary on the first lap to have an accident. I mean, they need their brains testing.
Well, you can see that Derek is very upset about it. Of course, you know, just the very first...
I hit the wall at 175 miles an hour head on, you know. And then I hit the wall at the bottom, then spun around again, and ended up down here. I came 500 yards. Just lunacy. I mean, they're stupid. These are bloody brain things.
Well, Derek, we're sorry to see you have that problem, but we are happy that you're okay.
Thank you. So am I, yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, Kim, that's the story for Derek Bell, and obviously he's very upset about the situation.
Derek Bell's first experience at the Alabama International Motor Speedway, his second experience on a super speedway, not very pleasant for him. Down the line, through the tri-oval, about 400 feet away from the start-finish line here at the Alabama International Motor Speedway. Earl Kinder holds the back, green flag is extended, and we're underway. Breaks out in front. Jackie Hicks the second, Earnhardt is third, and Fittipaldi is fourth. As they go to turn number 1. Off to a little easier start this time for Sneva as he gets some breathing room. Bottom of the racetrack, Johnny Rutherford now into fourth. Here they are, climbing to full speed out of turn number 2. Sneva in front. Earnhardt looking for a shot.
And the back cars cannot be able to stay with the group.
They're the back cars, and they are falling back. The aerodynamics a little ruined on them. Just saw Neil Bonnet go underneath Derek Bell. Here he goes to work on Benny Parsons, and he climbs up the inside. Bonnet taking another spot. He's up on Jackie Hicks. On Gaius is high on the outside as they run them 3 wide. Coming down to complete lap number 1, and Bonnet's got his boot in it. Denny Ungaius. No one has tried harder to win this series, and there goes Ungaius on the high side, beginning to maneuver as he's using up all the land, and it's just a little bit of a touch there, and Ungaius is in trouble. Sliding down out of turn number 2. Picks it back up. He tried to move through. Still sliding. Caution is out of the track. Non-counting laps, these caution laps. No matter where he goes, trouble seems to follow Danny Ungaius.
Danny on the gas, and this needn't live up to that name.
That's really sad. He tries so hard, and he is so determined. Danny Ungaius bringing out the first caution of the race. After we had our green flag start, and there you see the incident. Waltrip is up there, Chris.
Well, Danny's way up at the top of the track in the marbles there where you can't get a hold. And when he got off the gas, the front end went down, the back end got loose, and there he loops down. Knocks the rear spoiler off. Now notice that he doesn't have the brakes on. He's not smoking the tires. That's just, the tires are going around while they're smoking. So he's not flat spotting his tires. Be interesting to see whether he calls at the pits or not.
Winner of 6 IndyCar races, winless since 1978. Danny Ungaius still trying to gather it back up. Ready for restart. Ungaius now a lap down in Bonnet's yellow car, which has taken a lot of abuse, out back. The white car, Derek Bell, running to the 10th position. Here's the start. Parsons back underway as they march in lockstep down into turn number 1. And Derek Bell tries to climb his way around the banking to the back to pull by some machines.
Derek likes to take them one at a time. He's not into moving into this Piccadilly Circus traffic that he sees on the track here.
Derek Bell got a new definition of a round-around out here this afternoon. Here he is, back straightaway, number 1, back with the leaders. Parsons out in front. Yarborough is in second. Cale Yarborough lying right there, and there's a little interval back to the 3rd place man, Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt has said this is it for him in the International Race of Champions. Must-win situation. Darrell Waltrip lies fourth. Rutherford 5th. Back to the line they steam to complete the 14th of 38 laps. Tom Sneva is 6th. Gordon Johncock is 7th. Emerson Fittipaldi runs in 8th. They may stay like this for a while, Chris. Kind of wait it out here.
Well, the interval is such there that here's a look from Tom Sneva's car. The IndyCar specialist, and there's some vibration there in his hood a little bit. You can see his hood is shattering up and down. All those little things affect the performance of a car.
Tom Sneva. And they're all taking an identical line here. Be very careful with these cars that you get a little air scooped into them. NASCAR drivers very familiar with that. Parsons looking for his second IROC victory, Chris.
8 years ago was when he won his first one. It's a long time between wins already. Wonder how his shoulder's holding up right now.
Ongaias way off the pace and falling back. In fact, Ongaias will pit.
The rear spoilers are missing off his car, and of course the downforce is just not there.
Danny Ongaias brings car number 9. One of these equally prepared, and Les Richter was saying this morning, never have they had the cars closer together in time than here at Talladega. The series leader in the International Race of Champions is leading, but only by a whisker. Parsons in front of Yarborough, Earnhardt, Waltrip, Rutherford, Sneva, and it's time for the charge. When they come by this time, they will have completed 31 of the 38 laps, and Sneva's getting anxious and taking some shots on the inside, and he's falling back. In behind Fittipaldi, Johncock moving up to 6th. Up to 7th comes Fittipaldi. Sneva back to 8th. 180 miles per hour here. Equally prepared. Chevrolet Camaros in the 1984 International Race of Champions go into turn number 1 and 2.
If Sneva could get by Fittipaldi and get hooked up with Johncock, it may be an IndyCar gang set ganging up on the stock car boys.
Out of Tom Sneva's car, just empty spaces behind him. He has fallen back. Now, the end of that pack, he's back at 8th. Bell is 9th. Hicks 10th. Neil Bonnet 11th. And Danny Ongaias, the tailgater. Here they are, back out of 4 another time. Parsons staying there, Yarborough looking things over. You got to think that Yarborough's getting ready to make his move. He's tied, Yarborough is tied with Bobby Allison and Bobby Unser for overall wins in IROC at 4. Now here's Benny Parsons into turn number 1. And this is not the time to shoot your shot, right, Chris?
That's right. Johncock and Rutherford, 5th and 6th. Fittipaldi 7th. And 4 stock car drivers up front.
Working the 33rd of 38 laps. Now you're looking at Gordon Johncock. Be a real factor here in those final laps. He knows what he wants. He wants Fittipaldi with him, and he wants them to tail to the back of this group and then drive down the inside. Let's see if Fittipaldi's going to go with him. Parsons. The blue car, Yarborough. The red car, Earnhardt. And the light blue car is Darrell Waltrip.
You've got to know that Cale Yarborough is going to try the slingshot on the closing lap. He has an unrivaled record in 18 starts. He's won 8 first and second place finishes. No one has come close to Cale Yarborough's IROC record.
But that's not a Waddell Wilson engine like we've seen in those great NASCAR performances at Daytona and here at Talladega. What else can he do? The thing is that there's about 4 others that are all going to be figuring on the same move. For certain, Earnhardt, you know that Waltrip will take a shot at him here. Rutherford, classy guy, he'll come through, and now there is Earnhardt taking a little peek at the inside going into turn number 3.
You know what that is? That's a test to see what happens to the car when you start to move out of the direct draft. So what Earnhardt is doing now is trying to decide 3 laps from now, whatever it is, 4 laps from now, where he wants to go.
4 laps to go this time by. 18-degree tri-oval of the world's fastest racing oval. And there you have it. In a bundle. Sneva has fallen back. It's a 7-car draft for the lead, and Tom Sneva back about 10, now 40-car lengths from that front 7. And Fittipaldi trying to hold on to the car of Gordon Johncock here. Back straightaway. And nobody wants to show their hand.
Now, there's not enough room between Yarborough's front and the back of Parsons' car to do any slingshotting. You have to have an open interval. So let's see if Yarborough lets Benny get a couple of car lengths ahead in the lane these closing laps.
Here's Yarborough beginning to switch lanes a little in that second spot. You saw him go down inside. You saw him go back just a little high, maybe taking in some cool air here. Last laps. Final moments of round 3 of the International Race of Champions, and this is a doozy. Here we are at turn number 2, back straightaway. Sneva, no longer a factor. 7 cars to decide it. Although if they get in a scramble, Tom Sneva could find himself in pretty good shape. Again, just a little off the line to the inside, moves Earnhardt.
You know, it looks like Neil Bonnet, the series leader going in now, is going to be an also-ran when this race is over today.
Back once again in Neil Bonnet's car. He led the standings going into this. Remember, he's running 11th, all taped up after that horrendous crash at the commencement of the race. Complete restart. All right, back with the leaders. Through the trioval. Start-finish line, and there are 2 laps to go at 180 miles per hour. They approach the first turn. Parsons stays there. Can he hold on and take the lead in the International Race of Champions through 3 rounds?
You know, these Chevy engines have been performing extraordinarily well. They've been running. There's no air going in those radiators to speak of. They're not overheating, and the speeds have been consistently high. No malfunctions. These cars are really well put together.
Here they are. Cars originally came out of the shop of Banjo Matthews, out of North Carolina, completed up in New Jersey. And those 355 Chevrolet cubic inch engines now getting a real workout as we move around into the final moments. Down they come. White flag in hand. Last lap coming up of round 3. IROC. Parsons, can he stay there? Yarborough, will he take it away? Where will Waltrip move? Rutherford, can he storm and come through? John Cox sitting back there.
There goes Waltrip. The first to move.
Waltrip on the bottom of the track. Low, pulls up beside Earnhardt. Squeezes down on Cale Yarborough.
He knows what he wants. He's got a follower.
And as they dice back there, it's a little breather for Parsons. Back
Here
straight away.
Earnhardt's trying.
Here comes Cale Yarborough. Yarborough to the inside. Yarborough making his move. Waltrip coming with him. Parsons sliding to 3rd. Going back to 4th. Rutherford moves into 3rd. Out in front, it's Cale Yarborough. Waltrip there, knocking on the door. Here they come out of 4, looking for the finish line. It is Cale Yarborough first. Here they come for the tri-oval. Down they come. Yarborough first. Waltrip second. As they blaze down to the line, dropping on the inside, comes Waltrip side by side. And it looks like Waltrip pulled it off, Chris.
Waltrip by about 14 inches. What a drive. What a finish there. On the apron. He was down on the flat.
Nearly too close to call as they come across the line, and Darrell Waltrip in this car appropriates the 3rd International Race of Champions in 1984 with lead change after lead change in the final lap, and he is ecstatic. And let's take a look in replay, Chris Economaki, at that dramatic conclusion.
There he is down inside the white line, coming into the tri-oval, and the momentum is carrying forward there. It's amazing that he